Hi there. I just wanted to show you a few things about Schoology where you can find some notes and messages from me and where your students should be looking for updates and reminders from me as well. If you attended one of the sessions for conferences, this is something that we went over in the beginning of class, but I know with over around 120 students and the limited number of conference slots, not everyone was able to have a meeting with me. And so I wanted to make this available so that you had the same information. Right now I have Schoology open. This is how it will look for any of the 6th or 7th grade classes, and it will open automatically to updates. So you'll see updates is in color over here. It has a little notch out of the side so that you know you're in updates. Over here underneath the little banner that says visual arts. These are the places where I have been posting reminders and updates and any changes for the students. I post these after every class that we have, and sometimes intermittently if there's any other information that I need to share. For example, the most recent one here just notes that past due assignments have a certain deadline that they need to submit them for in order to receive a grade. Sometimes I might also remind students what they need to bring to their next class. For example, cardboard and scissors. I also let them know when their work has been graded. So you may be seeing messages that say something along the lines of, as of right now, everything that has been submitted has been graded. If you don't see a grade for an assignment, please look to see the feedback or notes that I left you by going to the grades on the left side of the Schoology page. If you don't see a notes or a new grade, please message me. This is really important because sometimes students think that they pushed the submit button and they maybe got to the last step and didn't, so it was never sent to me to grade. There may also be some type of glitch at some point with technology where they did submit it and I'm not seeing it. This is kind of the safety net that I've put in place to make sure that everything that students do, they can get credit for, and they can ensure that I have received their work. So if they've submitted it and it doesn't have a grade yet, and I send a message that says that I've graded everything that's been turned in, then it is highly encouraged for students to send me a message. Hey, I remember I turned that in, but I'm not seeing any notes or any grade for you. Can you double check for me? I will absolutely double check. If they don't do that and they just sit and wait for a grade, there is a possibility that it was actually never submitted and they will not see a grade because it will not be received by me. So these are important notes that I'm putting there as well. These exact same messages are copied and sent to the students in their envelope at the top. I know that some students prefer to look at those messages that way, but they do become kind of jumbled and messy once they are an old message or they may be deleting them. So at least there's this running record in chronological order of when I have sent the messages. This is also something that is very easy for you to check to see what the most recent message from me is. Another area for you to check. Right now I'm viewing this as a student, but it's actually Mrs. Weber. So her information will not be available, but I wanted to navigate in a way to show you how a student page will look. You can also go into the grade section. The grade section are broken down into 2 quarters because students in 6th and 7th grade don't have me all year. So she's enrolled in a class that has me for M1 and M2. Those are marking period 1, marking period 2, which means 1st quarter and 2nd quarter. When you look in there, there is a section for rubric A, B, C, D, and small assignments. You'll see next to them that a certain percentage of the overall grade is next to that section. So for the most part, rubrics A, B, C, and D carry about 25% of the overall grade, where small assignments take up 6%. So that's why this is 23.53%. Small assignments have the ability to raise your grade 1-letter grade or reduce it 1-letter grade, but not more than that. These are going to be shown here. These are quicker, shorter assignments, sometimes done in class, things that are building technical skills or skills with technology to be able to submit these larger assignments. If it is submitted, you will see a little blue envelope or a blue paper with the corner turned down here. If you don't see a grade yet, that means they have submitted it and it hasn't been graded. If you see a grade and that paper, that means they've resubmitted it for a higher grade, but I have not yet regraded that. If you look over here on the right, because this is a teacher and not an actual student, she hasn't submitted any of the work, and there are no notes. But over here to the right, you will see on your student's Schoology a good amount of notes, and more recently I started putting dates so that you can track when they submitted the work and what dates I gave them feedback. This is guiding them back to the rubrics when we're over here on rubrics A, B, C, and D to help guide them so they understand what they need to do in order to improve their grade if they would like to resubmit it for a higher grade. For visual art, rubric A is knowing and understanding. This is going to be any type of assignment that has to do with knowing the vocabulary associated with a type of art form, the names of the tools that are used, or the names of artists that practice that art form. B is skills, so this is technical skills in making art. C is thinking creatively, so this is going to be coming up with multiple plans or ideas prior to committing to one of them in order to make a project. So this would be sketching and maybe researching multiple different ideas or animals or whatever we're focusing on prior to making a decision for a final project. And responding and reflecting is looking at work that either the student made or someone else made and talking about what adjustments could be made and what impact those adjustments would have. In addition to accurate analysis on success of the overall artwork. So this is what you'll see for each quarter. And again, please look at the notes over here on the right. Those are really there to help guide. And again, there's no notes here because this is a teacher, just so that I have an example. Another area for you to look at would be the attendance section. Now, the attendance section is a section where you can see the days that a student was absent. Excused absence. If you send me a message and let me know that, let's see. If you let me know that a student has missed class, if they didn't have internet or if they were out of town, then I can go ahead and mark excused on there. I'm also going to write, if they're tardy, how many minutes late they were. I do not mark anyone late for being 2 minutes or less late. So they have 5 minutes in between individual classes, and then I give an additional 2 minutes. That gives them 7 minutes between classes. That should be plenty of time. I do mark how many minutes late because someone who's 3 or 4 minutes late is in a different situation than somebody who's possibly 20 or 30 minutes late because they likely haven't missed any of the content that we went over. In the attendance section, you will also see notes if a student does miss class on what they need to do or what we did in class, if there's something they need to catch up on. And I will also be putting notes in there at times on how much progress they made on work that I gave them to work on in class. So I can know if they opened the document, if they didn't open a document, if they opened it but didn't work on it, as well as any type of technical issues. If a student expresses that their microphone's not working or their speakers are not working, I will put that in there so that you have an open line of communication. If a student is in and out frequently, I might note that because I'll say, possible internet connection issues. Also, if a student is non-responsive, if they didn't turn their camera on, throughout class, I've asked them questions, no response. I type in the chat box in case there's issue with their speaker, no response. At that point, I will mark a student absent because I have no proof that they were actually there. And I will note that in the comments for the attendance. I'll note that, student logged in on time. At this time, I asked a question, no response. At this time, I asked a question, no response. At this time, I typed into the chat box, no response. Camera was not on. At this point, I'm assuming they were not present. If there's any type of issue with that, you can always come back and send me a message, and we can talk about that, and we can touch base with the student and see what was going on. But I do want to make sure that it's available information for you and for the student as well, for accountability. If you ever have any questions, if something isn't making sense or is challenging, please feel free to reach out. I'm going to also just show you how I've organized. So I am going to go ahead and reopen the share tray. I'm going to show you how I've organized these classes so that you can see where resources are available for students as they're working on their work. So when you look here, and when you go to materials, materials is going to be all of their assignments and all of their resources, as well as documentation of some of the different things that we did in class to reinforce concepts. So if a folder is gray, it means that we have finished that. So these are all completely still accessible. You can still watch any of the videos. You can still open any of the documents or any of the assignments. But it's great as an indicator that we have now finished. Everything that had a deadline has now passed. So we're done with our week 1 tasks, and we are done with our collage unit right now. The reflections are ongoing, so I'm keeping that colored, so that's blue. And for example, we're currently working in the cardboard sculpture unit. So when you open that up, just like when you open the collage unit, you have the same folders with the same colors. You have a general help folder that's yellow. You have a red assignments folder, a blue principles of design folder, and a green folder that is resources for whatever art form we're focusing on. So for the collage unit, it was collage art resources. And for the cardboard sculpture unit, there's sculpture resources. Examples of what you will find in the general help folder will be videos that I've created, how to insert photographs into a discussion that was helping a student figure out how to post so they could get credit, how to use the computer to photograph your artwork and post it, color label chart, which was going over vocabulary that they needed for some of their assignments. So reinforcing some of the vocabulary and topics that we are going over in class, videos that show how to create 1 and 2 point perspective, and illustrations showing action. In the assignments, this is where you're going to find everything for that unit that's going to be graded. If there is something that needs to be turned in and submitted for a grade, it will show up in the red assignments folder. Principles of design are the core vocabulary that we'll be focusing on for all of MYP in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So if a specific unit focuses on 1 or more principles of design, you will find resources here. So for the collage unit, we focus on contrast, scale, and proportion. So far with the cardboard unit, we have focused on, we haven't gone over anything yet, but we are going to be working on emphasis. The collage resources, these will be videos and pictures and documents that just show examples of that art and artists that make that art. So the sculpture art resources has example of how to use slits to connect cardboard, so an informational video, as well as videos of cardboard artists creating their work and showcasing their work. So this is how everything is organized. Again, everything that needs to be turned in for a grade will be found here. General help, so if they're having a hard time submitting something, there is likely a video in the general help folder that will help them there figure that out. And principles of design, so if we're focusing on that, there's resources there. If there's anything that you need help with, please, again, reach out, send me an email, send me a message in Schoology. I'm here for you guys. I know that it's confusing. I know that every little differently. I wanted this tutorial to be available for you so you can reference it. So you know that you're checking the updates section for messages and changes and reminders, that you're checking the grades section to see where your student stands and if there's any missing work. And also to be checking the attendance section to see how they're doing during that synchronous time, as well as how they're doing, you know, overall in terms of showing up on time and being present and involved in class for participation. So I appreciate your time and I hope you have a great day.